Preparing for our fantasy campaign, either before the first session or not, one of the things we're encouraged to think we're meant to have is a map, a beautiful map, and it can be created for us in AI, or we can download a program that will do it on our computers, or there are websites where you can pay a monthly subscription to get access to their little potato stamp houses that you can put all over a lovely hand-aged digital background. And do we need one? Is having one a hurdle to starting? What if we don't need a world map? What if the best map for our players is badly wrong, or incomplete, or inaccurately drawn, or in their heads, or all of these? In a modern day or sci-fi campaign, characters can access professional maps made by cartographers and professional descriptions of the land made by historians. But in a fantasy realm, is this reasonable? Is it believable? Are the characters themselves cartographers and historians? And do you have to have a map for the sessions to be fulfilling? Well, probably not, and no. I do have some tips for how to draw maps if you really want to, and you may well want to. Stick around to the end for those. But if you don't love drawing maps, maybe you don't have to. If you do love drawing maps, skip to the end. I'll give you some tips. You want to get on and game, and having a world map, a country map, a town map, it's a hurdle. If you think you can't start until you've got those, it's going to delay you. It turns the game you're going to run into a game you might run. It turns the game you might run into a game you want to run. It makes it harder to get out there, get going, and start your game. And then you feel like it's not pretty enough to show people. And then you think, well, do I have everything on there I need? Do I want the fire swamps, or do I want an oak forest? Oh, and what if I make a decision later and I need to change it? And in game, there's problems too. Do the players have the map? Or do the characters have the map too? If the characters don't have the map, is this some sort of collective knowledge that they have all memorized? So when someone says Glomhaven is north, someone can go, no, it's northeast, because everyone has this memorized image of what the entire nation looks like. Or if they have a physical map as characters, who have they bought the map off of? Was it expensive? Must it not get wet? Surely this is valuable information that the government might want to control. If the players can see it, but the characters can't, how does that work? Historical maps drawn in a genuine medieval setting look nothing like the maps in source books of modern day role-playing games, because those are drawn with reference to modern cartography, sometimes fantasied up a bit to give us little pointy mountains, but generally the thing they have that historical maps don't have is accuracy. Genuine maps from historical periods are simpler, less accurate. They're based on people walking or horse riding, but walking distances, trying to measure things by estimating, by sailing around coastlines. They're generally not made by flying. Even in a world with flying mounts and dragons, is there a royal cartographer's corps that goes out on their dragons to record where everything is? If you're in a fantasy village and you say to somebody, what's north of here? Are they going to know what north is? Or will they say, well, if you go down the road here and you turn left, keep on going till you get to Swinehaven, turn right at Swinehaven, that's upmarket. Upmarket, you'll then see a road to the capital, and there'll be a marker there telling you how far it is. Just keep going that way. Numbers go down, you get to the capital. Route lists make far more sense than trying to give your players a map. They could say to the innkeeper, can you give me a map of the surrounding area? And the innkeeper's going to say, no, that's not something they have on hand. Maybe they draw in the dust on a table when they're talking to somebody, and they put X's where things are. But I think a lot of great role-playing opportunity comes from telling the players what is described to them and expecting them to draw it. Their characters don't have a modern, beautifully laser-printed colour map. Why should the players? Now, yes, if you enjoy making maps, I'm not saying don't make a map. Maybe just don't give it to the players. Because once you accept that they're not going to have a beautifully scale, accurate map of the world, there's a lot of wonderful role-playing things that come into this. There are things that can be deliberately excluded. No one talks about the village that's 2 valleys over because of the plague. So when someone says to you how to get from here to there, they might just say, oh, and when you get there, don't turn left, turn right. But when you get there and you look left, there's a village there, right there, and it's late and you want to sleep. Maybe we'll go to the village. Why didn't he mention there's a village there? And there's going to be biases. The person you're talking to is more interested in certain things. A fisherman will tell you about the coastline, but only what's on the coastline. A farmer will direct you in terms of, well, my farm's here and the next farm's there, and beyond that they're not going to be interested in the forests. What if some things, when you see a drawn map, are biased as well? The country you're in is always going to be bigger and better defined. Other countries are going to be smaller, less well defined. You don't have to have a closed shape because they don't have a paint bucket fill tool to put the sea in for terra incognita and here be monsters. And what about conspiracy? What if one of the realizations your players come to is no matter where they are, the marker that says how far the village is from the capital city is always 75 miles. And no one seems to know what's wrong with that. Well, sure, we're all around the outside, aren't we? It's like a circle. Is it? Don't give your players an accurate map. If you don't, you have got so much scope later on to change your mind about what's where. You've got space to add in the fire swamps or the deadly stone circle that no one can leave. You've got spaces for plague villages. You've got spaces for recent events. Everyone knows that's beautiful farmland in the next valley, but when you get there, it's a smoking crater. Or, worse, it's a crater that's clearly been there for decades, but no one's mentioned it, and why? Okay, so if you are going to draw a map, here's some things you need to think about. If this is a publicly available map in your campaign, number 1, if it's not all built simultaneously at the same time within the same year, no fantasy village should be laid out in a grid. This seems obvious to Europeans, but a lot of perfectly good maps made by people who live in grid-based cities seem to think that this is the only way a village can be laid out. On a national map, the map maker's personal capital city or most important religious site would be in the centre. Remember, the Mediterranean is literally named as being the middle of the world. as it was on early maps. Roads that don't lead to the capital aren't as important, probably wouldn't be shown. Enemy countries and lands would be around the outside. They wouldn't necessarily have the far distant other side of them coasts shown, because these don't have to be closed shapes. And they will be shown as smaller and weaker, despite how they might actually be. Unknown lands will have uncertain coasts, and anything you don't want them to know about, you can just leave off. There's an island there that's not on the map is far more mysterious and exciting than there's an island there that is on the map, but we don't know what's on it. What I want you to do is give this a go. Have a try. In your next campaign, say to them, well, your characters have a rough idea of the layout of their home village, but they've been travelling for several weeks and now they're in a new area. You don't know where things are. Here's a sheet of paper. Have at it yourselves. And they can disagree. They can rub things out and draw them on again. Give it a go. What if you don't actually need a map for the dungeon? There's a lot of different ways you can prep to start a campaign, and I have a whole series of videos about this. They're coming out once a week, so hit that subscribe button and check out the playlist on my channel page.